What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Tuesday, December 19th, 2023, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 9:21 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from the Middle East. So, we have multiple sources now saying that the U.S. is in the preparation stage of an attack on the Houthi rebels in Yemen. And if you're not aware of what's been going on in the Middle East the last few weeks, the Houthi rebels in Yemen have been striking cargo ships, container ships, oil tankers with missiles and drones. And it's now costing a lot of money because a lot of ships are being diverted around the Suez Canal, which costs more money to do. These ships have to go all around Africa now. We have 7 major shipping companies halting transit through the Suez Canal and the Red Sea. So this is a huge deal. And the Biden administration is finally deciding to do something about it. So Bloomberg reported today that apparently the U.S. is in preparation stages for this attack on Yemen. Okay, they said that planning is underway. U.S. officials say the U.S. coalition has started preparing the military operation that is meant to completely destroy the military capabilities of the Houthis. And Bloomberg is saying that planning is underway for actions intended to cripple the Houthis' ability to target commercial ships, according to 4 people familiar with the matter. So 4 people confirming that planning is underway. Okay. So this could happen any day now. The U.S. has already moved the Dwight Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group from the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Aden. It is now just 100 miles offshore from Yemen. And we also have another U.S. aircraft carrier that was moved out of the Asia Pacific region and closer to the Indian Ocean. The USS Carl Vinson was moved to Singapore, and Singapore is not that far from the Gulf of Aden. So if they need a third aircraft carrier or third carrier strike group, it's not that far away. Okay, so 4 people familiar with the matter saying that planning is underway for actions intended to cripple the Houthis' ability to target commercial ships. This is being reported by Bloomberg. Now, the Washington Examiner said that there's new force movements suggesting that the US and the UK are planning strikes on the Houthis. So let me read to you what the Washington Examiner wrote today. Alongside a US-led naval task force that includes British, French, and Spanish warships, the Washington Examiner can report that the United States and the United Kingdom have moved other sensitive air and naval assets near Yemen. These movements indicate preparation for possible strikes against Houthi forces in that country. Closely aligned with and supported by Iran, the Yemen-based Houthis have in recent weeks launched several attacks on civilian shipping vessels. The Washington Examiner is not disclosing the identity of the military forces now positioned closer to Yemen, but they include both strike and supporting platforms, the deployment of which has not publicly been disclosed. Okay, so the Washington Examiner must have some inside sources, or they have some experts that know what's going on behind the scenes, but they're reporting that there are strike and supporting platforms that have been deployed that have not been publicly disclosed. Okay, and they say here that it is public knowledge that the Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group is operating off the Yemeni coast. Its embarked carrier wing includes 4 FA-18 fighter squadrons and an electronic warfare squadron. Other U.S. Air Force combat aircraft are also close by. It is also public knowledge that Britain's Royal Air Force has several Eurofighter Typhoon jets stationed out of a base in Cyprus. It is unclear whether France would join in any strikes against the Houthis, but it also has limited forces positioned to do so. Okay, so this is huge news, guys. It looks like the U.S. is finally going to do something about these Houthis, because we've been spending millions of dollars shooting down drones that are worth thousands of dollars. Okay, we've been shooting down Houthi drones that are $2,000 a piece with $2 million missiles. Okay, and this was first reported by Politico a few days ago. I was one of the first people to break this story. I was telling you guys that this would happen. It's now affecting global shipping, guys. Okay, global shipping is being affected, and this could cause a surge in food prices and the prices of everything. Okay, because now all these shipping companies, they have to go all around Africa. Okay, and this is the original article from Politico a few days ago, citing two Biden administration officials saying that they're actively weighing options. Okay, that was a few days ago. And a DoD official has confirmed that the USS Laboon has now officially entered the Red Sea. And the USS Laboon is one of three Arleigh Burke-class destroyers that the U.S. has moved to the Mediterranean in the last week. It was the first one to cross through the Strait of Gibraltar on December the 11th. 3 days later, another one crossed through, and then 3 days after that, on the 17th, just 2 days ago, a third one went through. Okay, so I expect two more of these destroyers, which have Tomahawk missiles on them, to enter the Red Sea to back up the carrier strike group. And apparently 19 countries have actually signed on to the new maritime task force focused on countering Houthi attacks, Operation Prosperity Guardian, but most of them didn't want to put their names to the move, a senior Biden administration official said. So they officially announced 10 countries that are participating in Operation Prosperity Guardian, but it looks like 9 more are part of this operation, but they don't want to disclose their participation in it. And I told you guys a few days ago, anything with the word operation in the U.S. military means war, okay? Like Operation Desert Storm, Operation Desert Fox, okay? All of these operations usually mean a war or some kind of a massive campaign, a strike. The U.S. is concerned about the cost of missiles used against Houthi drones, according to Politico. According to a U.S. official, the U.S. has used SM-2 missiles worth $2.1 million to intercept Yemeni drones worth $2,000, and the U.S. has intercepted 38 drones or missiles since the start of the war in Gaza. So do the math, guys. You're talking $50 million worth of missiles to shoot down some cheap drones and cheap missiles that they're firing at these ships. And the Israeli financial newspaper Globes reported that Israeli shipping companies have lost around 23% of their market value, representing a loss of billions of dollars. And the Jerusalem Post is reporting that Israel offered Hamas a pause of at least a week in the fighting in exchange for the release of about 40 hostages. And Israel is setting the conditions for the Israeli Defense Forces to reoccupy Gaza after the war, 3 senior Western diplomats told the Times of Israel over the past week. So I told you guys that that was the plan from the get-go. Okay, I told you guys that Netanyahu wants to take back Gaza and reincorporate it into Israel, and also take the West Bank. I think the West Bank will be next after Gaza. And they also have to deal with Hezbollah as well. And Israel told the Biden administration that they want Hezbollah's forces to be pushed roughly 6 miles from the border as part of a diplomatic deal to end tensions with Lebanon. And that was reported by Axios. And Japan will amend an arms export control to allow Japanese PAC-2 and PAC-3 missiles for the Patriot air defense systems to be transferred back to the U.S., which would free up the U.S.'s own stocks for transfer to Ukraine. And the U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan pushed Japan to supply 155 millimeter artillery shells to the Ukraine, but was not successful. And I want to read to you what Zelensky said today in his end of the year press conference. He said, "We are not invited to NATO. All these signals are pure nonsense." Wow, guys. "We will never support the proposal that part of Ukraine is in NATO and the other part of the country will be controlled by Russia." And what he's referring to here is some of the rumors that NATO wants to basically allow the parts of Ukraine that have not been occupied by Russia to join NATO, but Crimea and the occupied parts will not be part of NATO. That would kind of be a way around some of the existing NATO rules. And if appropriate arguments appear, we will lower the mobilization age to 25 years. And Ukraine will produce approximately 1 million drones next year. 1 million drones, guys. That's insane. The possible election of Trump as U.S. president will have a huge impact on the course of the war in Ukraine. American policy will become more economical and focused on internal problems. He's definitely right about that. We don't control the sky. It affected the summer offensive operation. That's what he said about the counteroffensive over the summer. The Russian fleet no longer dominates the Black Sea, and he said that the additional mobilization of 500,000 men will cost the Ukrainian budget 500 billion hryvnias. Okay, so some very strong statements here from Zelensky saying we are not invited to NATO. All these signals are pure nonsense. I'm glad he's finally starting to realize that he's not going to be part of NATO anytime soon. Ukraine is not going to be a part of NATO anytime soon. And it's up to Ukraine to protect themselves, because it looks like Europe and the U.S. are going to leave them high and dry. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, they have brought back their 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the discount, you have to use the link preparewith.nyprepper.com. And the link is in the description below this video. And this 3-month emergency food supply has a 25-year shelf life, and it's all contained within 6 rugged, watertight buckets, so it doesn't take up a lot of space. Free shipping included, 25% off their normal price. Use the link preparewith.nyprepper.com to get the discount. They also have a 2-week emergency food supply, which is excellent for outdoorsmen or people who go vehicle camping. They also have a general store. If you click the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewith.nyprepper.com, it'll take you to their general store where they have everything you can imagine, from potassium iodide to water filters, solar generators, solar panels, survival seeds, fire starters, anything you can imagine, it's all there. So use the link preparewith.nyprepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month freeze-dried food supply. And the link is in the description below this video. And what really concerns me, guys, is the fact that both Zelensky and Putin are facing re-election, okay? And also next year, there's a possibility that Trump could get elected. And if Trump gets elected, he's going to be a lot tougher on Putin than Biden has been. And Putin knows that. Okay, Putin's not stupid. That's why Putin waited for Biden to get elected before making his move on Ukraine. He didn't want to do it when Trump was in office because he knew Trump was unpredictable. But he saw Biden was weak. He first tested Biden by moving all those troops to the Ukrainian border and leaving them there a year before he actually invaded. Some of you guys might remember that. I actually covered it. I was one of the few channels on YouTube covering that. That was literally like 2 months after Biden got elected. Putin moved like 150,000 troops to the border of Ukraine, and he said that it was just an exercise. And then a year later, he ended up invading. But that was a test. He wanted to see what Biden was going to do, and Biden did nothing. And that's why he ended up invading, because he knew Biden was weak. He saw our withdrawal from Afghanistan and leaving all that equipment behind. He knew that Biden was incompetent and that was an opportunity for him to make his move. And so, what concerns me is we have Zelensky, who's facing re-election. His reputation is on the line. So far, the war hasn't been going too well for Ukraine. I mean, they're holding the line now, but they haven't been successful in taking anything back, really, except Kherson and Kupiansk. But they haven't made any major breakthroughs in over a year. And so, obviously, Zelensky's feeling some pressure now, and the Ukrainian people might be thinking that Zelensky's not good enough for the job and he's not effective. And same thing in Russia. Russians may be thinking the same thing, that, oh, why is it that there's 300,000 Russian casualties? Okay. And we haven't even taken the whole country. We've only taken a small sliver of Ukraine, but we're investing so much into this war. Maybe we want somebody else. Maybe we want someone more hardline than Putin. So both of them are under the gun, okay? And Putin especially, because Putin's getting older. He's going to be 71 next year, or 72, I can't remember. And he's facing re-election, and there's a possibility that Trump could get elected, which would basically change the whole dynamic, because Trump is going to be a lot tougher on Putin than Biden has been. And Putin knows that, so he may feel like between now and the end of next year is his last opportunity to make his big moves, okay? Which could mean a move on Moldova, a move on the Baltic countries, a move on Poland, Finland, another push on Ukraine. We'll have to wait and see. But Putin said that they have 600,000 troops operating in Ukraine, which doesn't sound accurate, okay? It sounds like he was foreshadowing that they're going to launch some kind of big operation with 600,000 troops. And now you have Zelensky saying they're going to draft 500,000 men. Okay. So this war in Ukraine is only going to escalate after the new year. Okay. So make sure you guys are getting prepared. And I will be covering everything going on in Ukraine and the Middle East in the new year. You can count on me for breaking news coverage and live coverage as well. So make sure you're subscribed and hit that bell icon below so you get notified when I post these emergency updates. And the State Department in the U.S. is reporting that the U.S. does not have a magic pot from which it could draw aid for Ukraine in the absence of a congressional decision on additional funding. So this is it, guys. Okay, the White House is going to give one last package to Ukraine. And if Congress doesn't agree on anything, then Ukraine is on their own. Okay, and the EU is not going to vote on the $50 billion aid package until February 1st. And even if the EU approves that $50 billion aid package, it's not going to be all at once. It's $15 billion per year over 4 years. Okay, so they're only going to get, or it's 15 billion euros, not dollars. It's like 15 billion euros over 3 or 4 years. So they're only going to get like 15 billion right away, even if it does pass. And even then, the European countries have not been supplying Ukraine with the bulk of their weapons, okay? It's America that's been responsible for arming Ukraine more than any other country, obviously, because America is the arsenal of democracy and we have the biggest military. So it's really the United States that's the most important aspect of this whole situation, okay? So, this could be an opportunity for Putin. He could see this as an opportunity. The fact that Western countries are not giving money anymore to Ukraine, and there's a stalling out in the aid going to Ukraine, and Ukraine is not getting replenished. And he could see this as an opportunity. Okay. And he's really feeling the pressure now, because things are going to start to change if next year there's a different president. He's got to factor these things in. Okay. Russia summoned Finland's ambassador on Tuesday to object to a new defense agreement granting the United States broad access to the vicinity of the new NATO members' long border with Russia, Moscow's foreign ministry said on Tuesday. The ambassador was told Moscow would not leave unanswered the buildup of NATO military potential on our border, which threatens the security of the Russian Federation, and would take the necessary measures to counter the aggressive decisions of Finland and its NATO allies, spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said in a statement. All right, so if you didn't catch that, this defense agreement is going to give the U.S. access to 15 bases in Finland, all the way from the southern part of Finland to the Lapland, and they're going to have access to the Russian border now. And there's also a provision in this agreement that allows the U.S. to store weapons on Finnish soil. So does that mean they're going to store nuclear weapons on Finnish soil secretly? I wouldn't be surprised, guys. Okay, Finland is right next to Russia, probably one of the most important borders with Russia of any NATO country, okay, because it's a long border and it's right next to Murmansk, where Russia has their northern fleet, where they have 2/3 of their nuclear armed submarines. It's literally right next to Finland. And then you have St. Petersburg and the Western Military District right there. So it would be stupid if the U.S. didn't take advantage of that and didn't move all kinds of weapons and ISR equipment, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance equipment, radars, radar planes, surveillance planes, all kinds of stuff. And then, of course, offensive weapons, defensive weapons, nuclear weapons. It would be stupid for the U.S. not to take advantage of that. So that's what they're doing. So, guys, the buildup towards nuclear war is happening right now, okay? Russia is in the process of testing more missiles. The U.S. is up-arming its nuclear arsenal. Okay, they've been testing Minuteman ICBMs with multiple independent reentry vehicles. The Minutemans are only supposed to have one warhead or one reentry vehicle. Now they're starting to put 3 on each Minuteman. Okay, so we're up-arming our arsenal. Russia's up-arming. So, guys, we're on a one-way trip to nuclear war. Okay, make sure you're prepared. Make sure you know what to do if there's a nuclear war. Check out my nuclear war survival playlist and my How to Survive Nuclear War series. I'll leave links in the top right corner. Okay, nuclear war is inevitable. Okay, it's in the Bible, and you need to learn how to survive it. It's not that difficult. The most important thing is protecting yourself from the fallout. For most people, fallout is going to be the biggest killer, because most people are not going to necessarily be right where the detonations occur. But, even if you're 300 miles away from the detonation, you could be affected by the radiation, the fallout. Okay. And fallout is not permanent. It doesn't stick around for thousands of years like Chernobyl or some nuclear power plant that melted down. Fallout degrades after 2 to 4 weeks. Okay. So you got to be able to shelter in place for 2 to 4 weeks while the fallout radiation subsides. And in order to do that, you need to have a solid shelter that's good enough to protect you from the gamma radiation. And I want to just update you guys on the volcano in Iceland. This is the latest update from the Icelandic Met Office. They say here the eruption continues to weaken. New aerial images of the area show that there are now 3 vents erupting southeast of Stora Skagfell, down from the previous 5. The lava has mostly flowed east from the eruption site, but there is also a lava tongue flowing west from the region north of Stora Skagfell. While the eruption continues at Sunghudsskiga, there is an increased likelihood that more vents may open along the original fissure, as well as further north or south. Okay, so they're saying more vents may open. Okay, this volcano, it's not even a volcano, it's just a crack. Okay, there's a crack in the ground, and the magma is spewing up through the crack. This crack is like 4 kilometers long. Okay, it's massive, and there's just lava pouring out through it, magma pouring through it, and they're saying it could get bigger, okay? I want to just show you guys the locations of some of our main naval forces across the world. This is coming from USNI News, and you can see that the Dwight Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group is positioned here in the Gulf of Aden. We have the Bataan amphibious assault ship, or the USS Bataan Amphibious Ready Group over here in the southern Red Sea. This is the one that has the Marines on it, 25,000 Marines, or I'm sorry, 2,500 Marines. And then we have the Gerald Ford Carrier Strike Group in the Eastern Mediterranean. And here we have the Carl Vinson Strike Group in Singapore. So you can see that the Carl Vinson is now not too far away from the Middle East. If things get out of hand here, they can move the Vinson into the Middle East if they have to, okay? And we have some breaking news coming in from Asia. The US, Japan, and South Korea established North Korean missile warning system and trilateral exercises. The United States, Japan, and South Korea announced on Tuesday that they have fully activated a real-time North Korea missile warning system and jointly established a multi-year exercise plan. The announcement of the new arrangement follows North Korea's launches of ballistic missiles on Sunday and Monday. So this is huge news, guys. Okay, things are escalating in the Asia-Pacific region. That's another part of the world we have to keep an eye on. But that's the latest information that I have. Things are really starting to spiral out of control around the world, and I'm very concerned about this operation in Yemen, and I think Iran is going to go crazy. Okay, once the United States starts pounding Yemen, I think Iran is going to do something, and I think Hezbollah is going to do something. And then also we have all the sleeper cells here in the U.S., all the jihadists that are embedded in our country, and they're just waiting for the orders to go out and carry out terror attacks across the U.S. and in Europe. And the FBI, DHS, and the National Counterterrorism Center have already warned about that. So if you guys are going anywhere this coming weekend for Christmas and then the following weekend for the New Year's holiday, make sure you're very aware of your surroundings and make sure you have a bug out bag and plan your trips accordingly, okay? Try to avoid crowded areas. Try to avoid mass gatherings. Be familiar with the area you're going. Carry paper maps. Make sure you know where exits are. And before I go, I just want to give a shout out to a friend of mine. His channel is called Duramax News. Please go and check him out. He's got really good coverage, live coverage of breaking news. He's trying to grow his channel, and he's been having some difficulties lately. So check him out, Duramax News on YouTube. I'll leave a link in the comments section down below. And until next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.